You've been lied to. They told you that if you want to change your life, all you need is more willpower. Just try harder. Push through. Force yourself. But let's be honest. How's that been working out for you? How many times have you promised to change, only to end up right back where you started? It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're weak. It's because the entire model is broken. Willpower is like trying to hold your breath and run a marathon. It's not made to last. And real transformation? It doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from something deeper. Your environment. Your systems. Your identity. Today, we're going to dismantle the myth of willpower and show you how real change happens. How your brain literally rewires itself when you align with the right principles. We'll talk about neuroplasticity, not as a buzzword, but as a tool. We'll show you how to create spaces that pull you forward instead of forcing you. And we'll tap into timeless Stoic wisdom, backed by modern science, to help you build a mind that works with you, not against you. This isn't about discipline. It's about design. Because when you design your life right, change becomes effortless. This could be the last time you ever try to change. Because from here on out, you'll understand how to become the kind of person who doesn't need to try. Let's begin. Imagine your mind is a forest, and every thought you have, every action you repeat, is like stepping on the same path over and over again. Over time, that path becomes more visible, easier to follow. That's the essence of neuroplasticity. Your brain isn't fixed. It's moldable, reprogrammable. And every time you think in a certain way or behave in a certain pattern, you're literally carving neural connections. The real question is, what are you carving? That's why the real secret isn't to force a new trail through the forest with a machete and frustration. It's to stop walking the old paths and slowly start stepping in new directions. Small, consistent, repeated. That's how new circuits are born. And more than that, the old ones start to fade. Paths that aren't used get erased. This is why trying to force a new identity through sheer willpower almost never works. Because biologically, your brain is still wired for the old version of you. It's like trying to swim upstream, when in fact, you can learn to change the current. Want an example? Studies show that professional pianists have specific areas of their brains more developed. Not because of some innate talent, but because of repeated practice. In other words, it's not your mind that builds your habits. It's your habits that sculpt your mind. And that's liberating. Because it means you don't have to be someone better. You just have to act as if, and your brain will catch up. Fake it? Not quite. It's not about pretending. It's about repeating. Your mind doesn't change when you believe. It changes when you repeat. And here's the twist. You don't need motivation to repeat. You need an environment that makes repetition inevitable. And that is what we're going to talk about next. If you walk into a room full of people yawning, chances are you'll yawn too. It's not laziness. It's contagion. Your brain mirrors the environment around you, constantly, automatically, and silently. That's why if you truly want to change, the first step isn't changing yourself. It's changing where you place yourself. You can have the most perfect plan in the world. But if you live in a space that constantly reminds you of who you used to be, you'll always snap back. Because environment beats willpower. Every single time. You want to be more focused, but your phone buzzes every 10 seconds. You want to stop procrastinating, but you work in the same place where you binge Netflix. You want to think differently, but you still hang out with the same people from high school who think the same way. You don't need discipline. You need mental architecture. Want to change how you eat? Don't start with a diet book. Start by cleaning out your fridge. Want to stop spending impulsively? Delete the app, hide the card, turn off the notifications. Want to read more? Put a book right where your phone usually is. It sounds simple, and it is. But almost no one does it, because everyone still believes change comes from within, when in truth, it starts around you. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago. Epictetus said, "You become what you give your attention to." And modern neuroscience agrees. Your brain changes based on what it sees, hears, and repeats. In other words, your environment is your neural mirror. And here's the scary part. This works both ways. Surround yourself with people living on autopilot. Guess what? Spend time in places that remind you of failure. Guess what? But here's the powerful part. You can flip the script. You can plant visual reminders of your new identity. You can design a space that silently pushes you forward. Because what surrounds you programs you. The only question is, what exactly is programming you right now? Most people think their beliefs are solid, that their identity is something fixed, something they are. But the truth is, your identity is a story your brain keeps telling itself. And the more you repeat that story, the more real it feels. I'm not good with people. I always give up. I'm just not the disciplined type. These aren't facts. They're loops. And the brain, being efficient, loves loops. It's not judging whether they're helpful. It's just trying to save energy. So it defaults to the most familiar narrative, even if that narrative is ruining your life. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your brain doesn't care why something is repeated. It only cares that it's repeated. This is how marketing works. This is how propaganda works. And it's exactly how self-sabotage works. So what if you use the same mechanism but deliberately? Instead of repeating the identity you don't want, you start feeding your brain a new one, bit by bit, day by day. Not with affirmations you don't believe, but with actions that align with the version of you that you're becoming. That's where Stoicism and science meet. The Stoics didn't waste energy on what they couldn't control. They focused entirely on what they could, their choices, their responses, their systems. Modern behavioral science backs this up. B.J. Fogg at Stanford found that people don't change by setting massive goals. They change by setting tiny habits, anchored to existing behaviors, and by feeling good when they complete them. Not forcing. Reinforcing. The key is emotion. Every time you act in alignment with your new identity, and you feel even a small sense of pride, you're releasing dopamine, the brain's reward signal. And that tells your nervous system, yes, this, again. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need to create micro moments of alignment and repeat them until they become who you are. Think of identity not as a crown you wear, but as a wall you build, one brick at a time. Every time you show up differently, you're laying another brick. And here's the kicker. You can start from anywhere. You don't need to feel like the new version of yourself. You just need to act like them. Once, then again, and again. Eventually, the brain will catch up. The story will update. And one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just change your behavior. You changed who you are. But to lock that in, there's one more element, the glue that holds it all together. And that's what we'll cover right now. You've heard this before. We become what we repeatedly do. But here's the deeper truth most people miss. We also become what we repeatedly feel. And if you constantly feel like a failure, if you feel stuck, small, ashamed, your brain learns that identity as your baseline. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. That's why real change isn't just behavioral. It's emotional. It's experiential. You have to create moments where your nervous system experiences a new reality, where you feel what it's like to act with courage, to choose discipline, to speak with clarity, to move with intention. Even just once. Because one moment of aligned action, fully felt, can rewire you faster than 100 hours of self-help theory. And this is where everything comes together. When your environment supports you, when your habits are micro but consistent, when your repetitions are emotional, not mechanical, and when your philosophy is rooted in what you can control, not in who you are, that's when the shift happens. Not like an explosion, but like a sunrise. Gradual, silent, unstoppable. And suddenly you're not trying to change anymore. You're just living in a way that makes the old version of you impossible to return to. That's the moment you know. It's done. You're different. Not because you fought harder, but because you built smarter. So stop asking, do I have the willpower? Start asking, do I have the structure? Because once you build the right system, change becomes a side effect. Subscribe to Mind Architect for more tools, strategies, and stories to help you take full control of your mind and your life. You're not just watching content anymore. You're becoming the architect. Let's go.